Franklin Graham, the eldest son of renowned evangelist Billy Graham, has led a life that has captured the attention of millions, both for his humanitarian work and his outspoken, sometimes controversial views. Known for his dedication to faith, his leadership of Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, and his vocal stance on social and political issues, Franklin's journey has been one of constant reinvention. However, beneath the surface of this well-known figure lies a deeper, more personal story. A journey fraught with struggle, growth, and, recently, heartbreaking news that has left many wondering what comes next for the pastor. In this detailed exploration, we will take a look at Franklin Graham's early life, his spiritual awakening, his humanitarian endeavors, and the controversies that have surrounded him. Along the way, we will explore the heartbreaking news that has recently rocked his community and followers, leaving many to question the future of this influential Christian leader. The early life of Franklin Graham, a legacy of faith and rebellion. Franklin Graham was born William Franklin Graham III on July 14, 1952, in Asheville, North Carolina, into one of the most respected Christian families in the world. His father, Billy Graham, was an internationally renowned evangelist whose sermons reached millions across the globe, and his mother, Ruth Graham, was a steadfast supporter of Billy's ministry while raising their 5 children in a faith-centered home. From a young age, Franklin was immersed in a deeply spiritual environment. Billy Graham's impact on American Christianity had already made him a household name by the time Franklin was born. Figures ranging from presidents to cultural icons would frequently seek advice from Billy at the Graham household. This unique atmosphere brought both influence and responsibility to young Franklin, who was often aware of the weight of expectations placed upon him due to his family's prominence. Despite the strong religious influence around him, Franklin's path to faith was far from direct. In his early years, Franklin struggled with the pressure of being the son of such a towering figure in American Christianity. The weight of his father's legacy, combined with the expectations others had for him to follow in his father's footsteps, led Franklin to push back against the religious life that surrounded him. Known for his rebellious spirit, Franklin found it difficult to live up to the high standards set by his family. During his teenage and early adult years, Franklin's struggles with authority were apparent. He attended multiple boarding schools and was expelled from a college in Texas for breaking the rules. He became increasingly resistant to the faith-filled life his family led, and at times he felt overshadowed by his father's larger-than-life presence. For Franklin, Billy Graham was more than just a father. He was a public figure whose influence inspired millions, and Franklin often felt like he was living in the shadow of this towering figure. In his late teens and early 20s, Franklin embraced a rebellious lifestyle. He distanced himself from the religious world of his family, opting instead for a free-spirited existence marked by drinking and exploring life on his own terms. During this period, Franklin sought new experiences and perspectives, traveling through Europe on a motorcycle and venturing across the Middle East. These years of rebellion allowed Franklin to carve out his own identity, separate from the expectations placed upon him by his famous family. A spiritual awakening. Franklin Graham's turning point. In 1974, Franklin's life took a dramatic turn during a trip to Jerusalem, where he experienced a profound spiritual awakening. He described this moment as a turning point, a realization that he could not continue on his previous path. For Franklin, this experience in Jerusalem reignited his commitment to the Christian faith he had long resisted. It was here, in the heart of one of Christianity's holiest cities, that Franklin decided to dedicate his life to God. This epiphany marked the beginning of a new chapter in Franklin's life. He returned home from his travels, enrolled at Appalachian State University, and later graduated from Montreat College in 1974. It was around this time that Franklin began working with Bob Pierce, the founder of Samaritan's Purse, a Christian relief organization focused on providing aid to people in crisis around the world. Pierce became an important mentor to Franklin, guiding him in his faith and humanitarian work. When Bob Pierce passed away, Franklin assumed a larger role within Samaritan's Purse and eventually became its president in 1979. This was a pivotal moment in Franklin's journey as a Christian leader, as it marked the beginning of his focus on humanitarian aid, an area that would become a central part of his life's work. Through Samaritan's Purse, Franklin traveled to disaster-stricken areas and conflict zones, providing relief to those in need. His work with the organization helped to solidify Franklin's reputation as a compassionate leader, one who was dedicated to helping the world's most vulnerable populations. Franklin Graham's rise to prominence. As Franklin's role in Samaritan's Purse expanded, so too did his public profile. While his father, Billy Graham, became famous for his large-scale evangelistic crusades, Franklin's approach was different. Rather than focusing on mass rallies, Franklin became known for his hands-on humanitarian efforts, particularly in regions affected by natural disasters or extreme poverty. His work brought him to places like Haiti, where he led relief efforts following the devastating 2010 earthquake, and to areas affected by hurricanes and famine. At the same time, Franklin also began to take on a more active role in the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, further expanding the reach of his father's legacy. Under Franklin's leadership, the BGEA continued to hold crusades and use media to spread the Christian message to millions. Franklin also spearheaded initiatives like My Hope, a grassroots evangelism campaign, and the Rapid Response Team, which sent chaplains to crisis zones to provide spiritual and emotional support to those in need. Despite his success and growing influence, Franklin often found himself navigating the delicate balance between honoring his father's legacy and carving out his own unique identity within the Christian community. He was frequently compared to Billy Graham, and at times, the weight of these comparisons felt burdensome. Nonetheless, Franklin remained dedicated to his mission, focusing on helping others while also becoming an increasingly vocal voice on social and political issues. The controversies. Franklin Graham's bold stance on religion and politics. Throughout his career, Franklin Graham has been known for his outspoken views on a variety of topics, many of which have sparked controversy and division. As a leader in both the humanitarian and evangelical communities, Franklin has never shied away from expressing his opinions on issues ranging from religious freedom to LGBTQ rights. However, it is his remarks on Islam and politics that have drawn some of the most significant backlash. In the aftermath of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks, Franklin Graham made a series of comments that were widely criticized for their harsh tone towards Islam. He referred to the religion as evil and wicked, which led to protests and calls for his removal from various public platforms. His comments were further criticized in 2003 when, during a Good Friday service at the Pentagon, he stated that true Islam could not be practiced in the United States and made controversial remarks about the treatment of women and children in Muslim-majority countries. In response to these comments, Franklin faced significant criticism from Muslim organizations, including the Council on American Islamic Relations, KIR, which called for a boycott of his ministry. The Pentagon even rescinded an invitation for Franklin to speak at a National Day of Prayer event in 2010, citing concerns over his comments. Despite the backlash, Franklin has remained firm in his views, continuing to speak out on political and religious issues. His remarks on Islam and other sensitive topics have fueled debates about the intersection of faith and politics, with many questioning whether his stance on these issues has overshadowed his humanitarian work. Heartbreaking news. The challenges facing Franklin Graham. Despite his success and the millions of lives he has touched, Franklin Graham's life has not been without its challenges. Recently, heartbreaking news has emerged that has left his followers and community in shock. While the specifics of this news are still unfolding, it has cast a shadow over Franklin's once unshakable faith and leadership. The exact nature of this news remains to be seen, but it is clear that Franklin is facing a difficult time in both his personal and professional life. For many, the news has prompted questions about the future of Franklin's ministry and the impact it will have on his ongoing efforts to spread the message of Christianity and serve those in need. As Franklin grapples with this new challenge, his followers are left wondering how he will navigate the difficulties ahead. Will this news shake his resolve, or will it only strengthen his commitment to his faith and mission? Only time will tell, but for now, Franklin Graham's story is far from over, and his journey is sure to continue to inspire, challenge, and provoke deep reflection on the role of faith in an increasingly complex world. The turning point, a spiritual epiphany. In 1974, at the age of 22, Franklin's life took a dramatic turn during a visit to Jerusalem. This pivotal moment marked a significant change in his relationship with faith and Christianity. He described his time in Jerusalem as a spiritual awakening, one that would lead him to a renewed commitment to Christ. This transformation was not just a personal decision, but a deeply emotional and spiritual moment that led Franklin to dedicate his life to ministry, despite his past rebellion. Upon returning to the United States, Franklin began to reshape his life. He attended Appalachian State University and later graduated from Montreat College in North Carolina. His decision to return to Christianity and dedicate his life to the ministry was significant. But it was his work with Samaritan's Purse, a Christian humanitarian organization founded by Bob Pierce, that would cement his place as an influential leader in the Christian community. Humanitarian work, Franklin's focus. While Billy Graham's global crusades were marked by massive gatherings and evangelistic fervor, Franklin Graham found his calling in a different aspect of ministry, humanitarian aid. Franklin was determined to create his own legacy, and he did so through his work with Samaritan's Purse. The organization's mission was to provide relief to people in crisis, whether from natural disasters, poverty, or political instability. Under Franklin's leadership, Samaritan's Purse became a major international relief organization, providing medical care, food, shelter, and other essentials to those in need across the globe. One of the most recognizable programs Franklin spearheaded was Operation Christmas Child, which collected shoeboxes filled with gifts and sent them to children in impoverished countries. The program garnered widespread attention and became an enduring symbol of Franklin's approach to humanitarian work. Franklin's commitment to serving those in need, often in the most dangerous and remote areas of the world, helped him gain respect and recognition within the Christian community. However, Franklin's leadership was not limited to humanitarian efforts. He also took on a prominent role within the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, where he continued his father's work, albeit with his own distinct style. Unlike his father's more diplomatic approach, Franklin's public statements and sermons were often more direct and, at times, controversial, particularly when it came to social and political issues. The controversial side of Franklin Graham. Franklin Graham's outspoken nature and blunt political views have made him a polarizing figure. While his father, Billy, was known for his diplomatic and inclusive approach, Franklin's public statements have often stirred strong reactions. His criticism of Islam, his outspoken support for conservative political candidates, and his controversial views on social issues such as LGBTQ rights have drawn both support and condemnation. In the years following the September 11th attacks, Franklin made a series of statements that alienated him from certain religious and political groups. His remark that Islam is a very evil and wicked religion generated significant backlash, particularly from Muslim groups and interfaith organizations. His comments about President Obama, questioning his faith and suggesting that his Muslim background posed a problem, also sparked controversy. Despite later issuing an apology for casting doubt on Obama's personal faith, Franklin's remarks had already left a lasting impact on his reputation. Perhaps most notably, Franklin became a staunch supporter of former President Donald Trump, a position that further alienated him from some segments of the evangelical community. Franklin publicly supported Trump's presidential campaign, arguing that God had a role in Trump's election. He continued to defend Trump through the president's impeachment trials, calling the proceedings an unjust inquisition. Franklin's outspoken support for Trump was seen by many as prioritizing political allegiance over the core values of Christianity, leading to significant division within the evangelical community. The political backlash. Divisions within evangelicalism. Franklin's political stances, particularly his support for Trump, have caused significant rifts within the evangelical community. Many evangelical leaders have criticized Franklin for aligning himself so closely with political figures, arguing that this approach undermines the nonpartisan nature of the Christian faith. Critics contend that Franklin's public political endorsements, particularly during controversial moments like the 2020 election, have contributed to deepening political divisions within the church. Moreover, Franklin's approach to politics contrasts sharply with his father's legacy. Billy Graham was careful to avoid aligning himself with any political party, focusing instead on spreading the message of Christ's love and grace. Franklin, however, has often intertwined his faith with his political views, leading some to question whether his political activism has overshadowed his ministry work. This tension between political involvement and religious duty continues to be a source of debate within Christian circles. Tragic news: the loss of Aunt Jean Graham Ford. Amidst the controversies and challenges in his public life, Franklin Graham recently faced a personal loss that has deeply affected him and his family. In 2020, Franklin shared the heartbreaking news that his Aunt Jean Graham Ford, the only surviving sibling of his father, Billy Graham, had passed away at the age of 91. Aunt Jean had been a beloved member of the Graham family, and her passing marked the end of an era for the family. In a heartfelt tribute posted on his social media accounts, Franklin reflected on his Aunt Jean's life and the profound influence she had on both him and his father. He shared stories of Aunt Jean's devotion to the Christian faith, her role in supporting his father's ministry, and her lifelong commitment to God's work. He also recalled her childhood struggles, including being diagnosed with polio, which made her a symbol of strength and resilience for the family. Franklin expressed deep sorrow at her passing, but also noted the joy the family found in knowing that Aunt Jean had lived a life of faith. He quoted scripture, comforting those who mourned by affirming that to be absent from the body is to be at home with the Lord. In this time of grief, Franklin also extended his prayers to her husband, Dr. Leighton Ford, and their children, expressing sympathy for their loss while rejoicing in Aunt Jean's eternal peace. Conclusion: a legacy of faith and controversy. Franklin Graham's life has been marked by a series of profound transformations, moving from rebellion to religious awakening, from the shadow of his father's legacy to establishing his own identity as a humanitarian and evangelist. Through his work with Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, Franklin has impacted countless lives, providing relief to those in need and sharing the message of Christianity with millions around the world. However, his journey has not been without controversy. His outspoken views on Islam, politics, and social issues have led to criticism and division, but they have also sparked important conversations about the role of faith in the public sphere. As Franklin faces new challenges in his personal life, it remains to be seen how these events will affect his future and the legacy he continues to build. Franklin Graham's story is one of faith, resilience, and controversy, qualities that will likely continue to shape his path for years to come. The heartbreaking news that has recently emerged serves as a reminder that even the most influential figures face hardships, and it is how they respond to these challenges that will ultimately define their legacy. As his story continues to unfold, one thing is certain: Franklin Graham's impact on the world of faith and humanitarian work will endure for years to come.